Howdy, my name is Raji, sales manager of Triple J Auto Group, and I'd like to introduce to you, can we do it one more time? Yes. Sorry about that. Hi, I was gonna say howdy, I'm sorry. Howdy, my name is Raji, sales manager at Triple J Auto Group, and I'm very proud and honored to present to you this, Howdy, my name is Raji, sales manager of Triple J Auto Group, and I'm so honored and pleased to bring to you the most powerful production Mustang that Ford has ever produced, the 2021 Shelby GT500. The Shelby GT500 is synonymous with the late great Carroll Shelby, who was involved with Ford in the Mustang in the 1960s. And Carroll Shelby's legacy will continue to live through the GT500. So if you want a car that'll stand out from the crowd, or you want a car that'll throw you back in your seat and leave you with a big smile on your face, or if you want the most powerful Ford production Mustang ever produced, then this is definitely the one for you. Shelby GT500, a monster of a machine, a living legacy. Okay, let's start out with this front end here. As you notice, this is a really large open mouth front end. This front end is so large, it's like a mouth of a basking shark. And you have tons of ventilation here. You got this front section up here, grill area. You have the lower grill area. And what's the meaning of this? This one here is for air induction, forced air induction. Cold air is going to come in. And with this huge power plant that we have here, you have a lot of coolers. You have a trans cooler, you have an oil cooler, you have a cold air intake that's located on this section here behind the grill. You also have two supercharger coolers on both sides of the GT500 located behind here. And all of this is functional. And what's the purpose of that? Again, to have the cold air to come in, but you're also going to need a place for it to come out. So once the cold air comes in, you also have on the top of the hood, you got this huge heat extraction. So this is going to take all of the hot air out. Very nice muscular hood. And of course, you have the largest king cobra snake that has ever graced the front end of a Shelby GT500. The largest badging ever. This thing is huge. Coming around the side, you still have the reminiscent of the 2015 style Mustang LED tri-bar lights. They're still sporting that. Also, you have this end here is a little bit wider. The Shelby GT500 is actually 77 inches. The Shelby GT500 finally came with the hydraulic hood strut. Most of the Mustangs that you see out there are just coming with the regular hood prop. So kudos to GT500 for that. You have this massive strut tire brace. This thing is so huge, it looks like a London Bridge. It's just massive. Also on the engine, you see the Cobra there. You have a nameplate, hand built. Good old Ford pride there, so it tells you who actually built the motor. And speaking of this motor, this is the powerhouse. Again, the most powerful production motor that Ford has built. You're looking at a 5.2 liter. And this thing is a monster. What you're looking at is a 5.2 liter cross-plane crank motor. Now, typically with the muscle cars, they're gonna have a cross-plane crank. A lot of people a lot of people are familiarized with the flat plane crank of the GT350, but they're two different motors. Yeah, 5.2 liter in displacement, but the flat plane crank is going to give you a little bit higher revving, and like the GT350 revs at 8250 RPM, while the GT500 will rev at 7500 RPM. This is also mated with a TVS Root style 2650 or 2.65 liter supercharger, putting out a mind-numbing 760 horsepower and 625 pound-feet of torque. That is insane. You want something to put you back in your seat, then this is it. This is perfection on wheels. If you notice the muscularity of the vehicle, it's all flared out, it's widened, it's a bruiser. And it's a bit on the heavy side with a little over 4,100 pounds, but don't be fooled by that 4,100 pounds because you have the best power plant, you have the best suspension and braking combination and aero possible to make this GT500 a real monster. And speaking of suspension, you have MagneRide suspension on all four corners. MagneRide, that's magnereological fluid that's mixed in with synthetic oils. You have a charge that's sent in there that can really stiffen up those shocks. Really stiffen up the So you have the magno-rheological fluid that's mixed in with the synthetic blend of oil. You have a magnetic charge that's sent through the dampeners and to really stiffen up the shocks. So it's really on demand, so when you're driving, it actually works for you. The only thing that you really need to do with this vehicle is just hang on and pilot the vehicle. Along with that, you need the braking system. Now, of course, GT500 is on Brembo Brakes. Brembo is known throughout the whole world with high-end sports cars and luxury cars and trucks of that matter. But Brembo took it one step further because this vehicle is so fast, Brembo had to produce an extra large or oversized front brake caliper. This is insane. You have a large 6-piston Brembo brake in the front, 15.5-inch caliper, 16.5-inch rotor. Now these rotors are iron rotors, a lot of airflow going through, 2-piece with aluminum hats, so you're still gonna get that air to circulate and keep things cool. You also have 20-inch wheels, and these are 5-spoke black painted aluminum wheels. You also have on the tires, you have a staggered set. So Brembo 6-piston in the front, 4 pistons in the rear, 14.6-inch rotor. The tires, you're dealing with Michelin Pilot 4S tires, excuse me, and that's gonna give you that traction on the road. You wanna keep this vehicle planted. So you have the Michelin tires, and the set is nice. You're looking at 305, 30, 20 in the front. Out back, it's gonna widen out to 315, 30, 20 in the rear. And the stance is beautiful. You gotta love it. Looking at the side profile of the vehicle, you also notice with this large, massive Cobra again, you also have the side seal. And what this is to channel that air right through. Again, we're talking about aerodynamics on the GT500. This is gonna channel that the air through the seal. And you also have on the GT500s, you have a little bit wider seal, but they kind of stopped. And I've had some people to ask me, well, why didn't they just continue this through the side of the vehicle? That's because when you open the door, you don't want to take a risk of stepping on it or damaging this side seal. So they kind of stopped right there. Coming back around. So sexy, I love this rear end. You do have a gloss large wing for the back. You also have this big Cobra in the trunk deck lid, which is nice. Of course, reverse camera. The lights are gonna be sequential lights. This is reminiscent of the 1968 Shelby GT500. So you have that sequential lighting. And then coming down, you do have the reverse light. And then you have this rear diffuser here. Now, as I said before, in the front, you have that air coming through. With the front spoiler, or splitter if you will, you want to keep that vehicle planted down. Now, if we were to lift up the Shelby GT500, you would notice that the underneath is really flat, and it needs to be like that for a purpose. When you have air coming in, you want it to come in at a high rate of speed and come out through this rear diffuser. If enough air gets trapped under there and it's not being channeled properly, it creates lift, and then you might have an accident, especially at speed. So I love this here. I saved the best for last. Borla Attack exhaust. This is one of the staple marks of this Mustang. This is what people want to buy it for. They want that sound. They want that rumble in the jungle. You have Borla Attack exhaust. You have 3-inch pipes. They're coming out to massive 5-inch. I think I can put my whole hand in there. 5-inch dual quad piping. And it makes a sweet sound. I mean, the sound is so symphonic. Who needs a sound system when you can listen to a sound like this? Now, on the exhaust note, it can get louder. You have some different modes, and I'll talk about that in a little bit once we get inside the interior of the vehicle. So let's walk around. Okay, let me jump inside here. Now, what you're going to notice on the interior of the vehicle, you do have a leather on the side of the door. You do have this white leather stripe accent, which is nice. And then here, you have the GT500, you have a chassis plate. And what this is, it tells when this particular GT500 rode off the assembly line. Okay, it has its stamp there. You also have the carbon fiber trim here that's going along the top of the dash. Gives it really nice racy feel, really nice interior accents. You do have oil gauges here. You have oil temp, oil pressure. You're definitely going to need that, and that's located on the top center stack in between the aircon vents. Sync 3, 8-inch touchscreen. You have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, of course push button start, and you do have your climate control here. Now, this one here is a 7-speed DCT or dual clutch transmission, meaning it's an automatic. And no, GT500, there's not a manual for it. It's only automatic. So, but don't fret, don't be sad. There's a reason behind it. What Ford wanted to do, instead of having a manual transmission, they wanted to be able to compete with the big boys, especially on the track. So you have these big, huge magnesium paddle shifters. These things are extra large. They're not plastic, it's really magnesium. So you can get these crisp shifts up and down the gears, if you will. So you have that. And then you also have this Alcantara leather. I love this flat bottom here. And then you have the leather accent stripe pointing to the North Star, the top of the steering wheel. And if you look at the center console, you also have the stripe too. So these kind of go hand in hand. You got the steering wheel stripe, the center console, and also on the edges of the doors. So you have leather trim, you have the white accents going around the bolsters of the vehicle on the sides. Very comfortable. You do have enough bolstering here to keep you locked and planted when you're cornering or you're at speed. Also on the Recaro seats, they do have the openings on the top, so you can put a 4-point safety harness for those serious drivers on track day. So definitely a functional seat. And I think is very beautiful, very exquisite. Okay, behind the steering wheel, we have this 12-inch digital display cluster here. And it's gonna give you a myriad of functionality, a lot of inputs there. And then this is all controlled here on the steering wheel if you're looking here. Of course, you can go into normal mode. This is gonna be for the suspension. And then you can change it to sport. Also on the steering feel, normal steering, you can change that as well. You also have different things like My Color. You can change the coloration just depending on what mood that you're in for the ambient lighting. You also have another switch called My Mode. So let's say, for example, you're feeling kind of good and you want to keep it in track mode. You want track mode or sport mode. Let's just say sport mode. So you want sport mode to be your mode. You can do your settings, hold down the Cobra button there on the steering wheel, and that will take you into My Mode, and you can set it like that. So whatever you feel like, you can have your own individual or personality settings there. All right, going back on this mode here. If you notice when I change it, it's gonna change the display here, the tachometer. So I'm gonna go to sport, I'm gonna go to track, I'm gonna change up again. Then you see the drag strip. You got the little tree there. And of course, for track use only, see the manual, right? You also have wet and snow mode as well. Then of course, you do have, probably one of the best features is the exhaust mode, or the active exhaust. Now, you do have some different modes here. Right now, I just put it on quiet mode. And if you're going through the neighborhood, you don't want to wake up the neighbors, you don't want to wake up, you know, piss anybody off. You probably want it really quiet, but you can change that from quiet, normal. So now it has a bit more of a growl. Go beyond that, sport. And then you have track. Now, when you get on this in track mode, you're gonna wake up not just the whole neighborhood, probably the whole world, the whole island. You know, it's just that insane, the loud exhaust note that you're gonna get out of here. So I think most of the customers are gonna buy something like this are probably gonna leave it in track mode most of the time, or sport mode, if you will. So if you have any questions about this GT500 or any of our other products, feel free to see me or one of our knowledgeable sales staff at Triple J Auto Group, where customers are first.